Good morning, everybody. And firstly, a big thank you for joining the panel this morning. It's great to see so many familiar faces in the audience today. Really excited to get this topic off. We've got 4 fantastic industry heavyweights here today and quite a hot topic to cover. We've only got 30 minutes, so we'll see how we get on for Q&A at the end. But if we don't manage it, potentially please come and grab any of them kind of after the chat. So firstly, for those of you who don't know me even, I'm Helen from KEANE Design, specialist F&B designers, lots of experience working with standalone operators and also hotel F&B operators. And it's been a fascinating journey over the past 10 years or so in the Middle East and seeing how these new business models have emerged over the past 4 to 5 years. I think we're all familiar with what leasing is. We're probably all familiar with what a JV is. There's more recent things coming into play, like the Manchise, the managed franchise. And I think let's start by introducing the panel.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you all here. My name is Ramzy Abdul-Majeed, the founder and MD of Whissle Hospitality. Our vision was to create brands out of Dubai back in 2005. And the objective was everybody was franchising and bringing brands in from around the world. We wanted to create brands here, born in Dubai, bred in Dubai, in the UAE, and then franchise them out around the world. And over the last 10 years, we've done about 10 brands. So we'll talk a little bit more about those later.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nabil Souhail. I look after the Buddha Bar International Business Development Operation in the MENA and Asia region. We're established in 21 countries with around 10 brands in the portfolio, including restaurants, clubs, and hotels and spas. We're established as well in the UAE with 6 venues and 4 on the pipeline, and a total of 20 in the pipeline for the next 4 years in the world. And we've seen a great expansion in the region, and we're going to discuss more in details on our panel. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gradnitzer. I'm the Senior Director for Food and Beverage Development and Operations for Hilton, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Very much focus onto food and beverage as a business in itself, to develop across our new developments, but furthermore setting strengths and strategy into in a bigger approach into existing operations to really be trendsetters, forefront, and relevant product creation and F&B offering creation.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Michael Ellis. I am the Chief Culinary Officer for the Jumeirah Hotel and Resorts Group based here in Dubai. My role is to elevate the food and beverage offerings in the Jumeirah Group to make it a real enhancement to the brand. And I've been here since October, so I've only been in my post for 6 months. Before that, I was, for the last 7 years, I was the worldwide head of the Michelin restaurant and hotel guides.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. My first question, actually, is to Michael and probably to Christian. When you are looking at a property or a resort, how do you go about deciding on not just the mix, but how do you decide whether or not you want to outsource any of the F&B options?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, excellent question. It goes back, I think, to the 2 sessions ago when we had the hotel and restaurant folks on. I think that some of these issues came up. I think that it's incumbent on every hotelier, hotel group, to decide what makes sense for them, what makes sense for their guests, what makes sense for the outside guests if they want to bring them in, because you have the in-house guests and obviously the ones that you want to bring in from the local community. In Jumeirah, I think we have a fairly unique situation here in Dubai, certainly, in the fact that on the beachfront we have 7 hotels with over 2,000 keys. So we really focus on our guests, and yeah, we want to keep our in-house guests obviously happy. We firmly believe that the F&B offering has got to be a value enhancement. We want to keep our guests in-house. We want to bring some of the other visitors from outside Dubai into our properties. We also want to bring the local Emirati community as well as the local expat community. So we have 4 guest segments that we're focusing on, and depending upon each hotel and the individual outlets, we try to get that mix right.
And how flexible are you in terms of the different business models that you would even entertain to facilitate that? You know, it's not always just a straightforward lease anymore or a franchise agreement. Are you flexible to work with an operator?
Absolutely. If you look at our core activity here in Dubai, which represents most of our activity worldwide, we have several different models. We have most of them are in-house, where we have our own teams, our own chefs, our executive chefs, chef de cuisine. That tends to be for the majority of our outlets. We also have the Jumeirah Restaurant Group, which is a sister company. They run several of our outlets. And we also have some third-party operators, not actually physically within the hotels, but within the Medina area, such as Il Boro, Black Tap, and others. So we're very flexible about that. We obviously, our ultimate goal is to, obviously it's got to be a revenue driver, but we, as was mentioned earlier, we believe it's a brand enhancer, and it helps drive your average daily room rates. In the eat part of the equation is important to add value to the sleep part.
Thank you, brilliant. And I suppose a similar question to Christian, really, in the sense that if you look at, say, the DoubleTree Hilton JBR, you've seen really good success in a leasing strategy with several brands there that have gone out to lease. How did you get to that decision? And is that something that you will continue with, or is it project by project?
Yeah, it's absolutely the right position. Obviously, we within Hilton are managing multiple brands, so it's not just one hotel brand and one relevance, and there's definitely a lot of mirroring and agreement from the previous sessions. But there is not one solution fits all. What we really go into it within the different segments of focus service, full service, and then the luxury segment to create journeys. I'm very, very much into the journeys, and that again applies to existing hotels under operation, which are coming to improvements, which are coming to for rebranding, and equally the new development. Obviously, our pipeline is extremely heavy to keep focus, and I think the most important part for us to determine what is the right way to go within the overall property, within its location, to create a relevant offering with a very healthy mix of any of the franchise, lease, third-party partnerships, or Manchise these days. Very heavily in Europe as well, equally the Manchise just to pick up. And proposition the journey which will then be ultimately supported with thorough due diligence, closer up to date when the hotel will go into operation for new developments. But I think the relevance sticks also in our current operations, and we give a great focus within all the current operations to have the right site. Every brand can have the opportunity of outsource. Which model it goes for, it's really, again, what is the best commercial proposition to drive the ultimate interest and the right affiliation. And just to add on, I think a big focus we are taking, and actually very lucky to sit next to Nabil, I think within creating journeys to have relevant offerings for the customers, from in-house creation to outsource, we quite go into the smaller spaces and look at pop-up philosophies. A good example, I think, is Siddhartha, where we will be tonight as well, which is actually here at the property, which is really not testing it. We don't want to use it as a guinea pig, but we want to use the flexibility of the model. We want to use and encourage, obviously, brand owners out there to work with us on pop-up opportunities, flexibility. If it needs more fine-tuning, it's less investment for the ownership, and equally for us, greater success in bringing certain elements out.
Yeah, fantastic. I don't know whether the people in the audience know, but actually Ramzy and Christian have some form of marriage going on at the moment. They've got so many projects on together, and it's been absolutely fascinating. You won an award yesterday, the day before,
we did.
in Doha for Claw, which is fantastic. Best bar, best nightlife.
We're very proud of that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, in the neighboring country, 6 months we've been open. It was a hotel all-day dining previously.
Yeah.
It took some vision from, you know, the Hilton upper echelon
Yeah.
to agree to bring in a third-party brand in there as a franchise. There are always tricky points in getting things
Yeah.
to work together in a
Yeah.
relationship. You've got the juggernaut of a hotel brand,
Yeah.
and then this, as Naeem said earlier, this nimble sort of quick action brand that
Yeah.
can make decisions quickly, whereas the juggernauts don't, and they
Yeah.
have 50 procedures to follow.
Yeah.
But trying to get those two to work together
But-
has worked,
Yeah.
and we won an amazing award only a few nights ago. So
Fantastic.
I think everyone's very happy, and the proof in the pudding in that is most people here, we're not going to discuss numbers of all-day dinings and what they do from a return perspective. All-day dinings do their numbers. They're not
Yeah.
great numbers, but they fulfill a need. The vision here is, and I'll give an estimate, is we're running circa 2 million plus a month of revenue, which is pretty interesting from a location that wouldn't have done anywhere near that before. And that's the ability of having a powerful external franchise brand
Yeah.
that's then run according to SOP by the hoteliers. So the hoteliers, by definition, it's not that they don't know how to run restaurants.
Yeah.
It's just they're sort of, I think, saddled with the historical legacy of how to do things in a bigger juggernaut, which works amazingly well for rooms, but it's not the same mentality
Yeah.
in an F&B. And we've managed to get that to work there. And we have 4 others already signed with them.
Yeah.
And we've got 5, 6 others in the pipeline just with Hilton alone.
And you've got a number of, you've obviously been 2 businesses courting one another for some time, and you have now come to different business models for different properties in different territories for different brands. So how do you get that flexibility? How do you manage to work together to get what you need to make it a success and what you need as a hotel operator to make it a success?
I think there's no one answer, like the previous panel said. Different owners, different locations,
Yeah.
different cities, different countries.
Yeah.
It's the different appetite too.
Yeah.
Some owners want to put the capex, others don't.
Yeah.
Some owners say, you know what, I want just to know that I have a lease and a particular income coming in, but that brings challenges with it.
Yes.
You give a lease to somebody, it's their space. You don't get to control what they do there. So it can be great, but it can also create problems.
Yes.
And our philosophy on the sort of, everyone's discussed, an ROI and a better ROI, but I think if you just peel the one layer of the onion back a little bit, the reality is hotel operators, by definition of having a big building with lots of people there, they already run a lot of the services that independents, if you take a lease, have to run specifically for that venue. So if you marry the two together,
Yeah.
and it's a franchise, and we've compared numbers of P&Ls, which ultimately an owner wants to look at. There's probably about a 20% differential in terms of a hotel GOP running 40, 45 versus us being able to run 20 odd.
Yeah. Yeah.
You put the two together, you get a business that can generate a higher revenue than probably a hotel can do
Win-win.
alone. It's
Yeah.
win-win.
Yeah.
And to address the issue earlier, hotel GMs, it's not that they're bad people or the hotel groups, it's just there's an HMA agreement that says you get X of bottom and X of top and X of bottom. But if the rooms are doing 100 million and their F&B is doing 10, it's easy to see why historically they focused on the rooms.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
the trick now is to up that revenue on the F&B to become relevant, to attract people from the outside. And like Chris said earlier from Marriott, it's the image that then attracts people to come to the building,
Yes.
which will
absolutely.
in turn, if it's run properly, continue that revenue and actually throw out a much higher bottom line. Everyone becomes happier.
Absolutely.
So Nabil and I, when we're
Yeah.
putting brands in places,
Yeah.
we're getting our franchise fee.
Yeah.
The hotel management company is actually making more money, and then the owner's also making more money,
Yeah.
despite paying everybody out.
Yeah, absolutely. Nabil, if I can come to you last but not least. So Nabil is obviously amazing legacy, ongoing legacy with Grosvenor House and
Yeah.
Buddha Bar. And we had a great chat earlier about how you are flexing your approach to working with owners with pop-ups.
Yes. Basically, we started since the last 5 years. We started to establish pop-up business models in globally, actually, not just in Europe. But we started 5 years ago in Greece with Mykonos. In fact, in one of the Marriott properties, and we've seen that is great success since the started. And we had a lot of approach, and the same for the pop-ups. The pop-ups is a great opportunity and potential for investors and hotels to establish within their properties. First, they don't need a lot investments. First, second, it's establishing a seasonal properties rather than permanent concept where we see, for example, in Dubai. But for example, in Ras Al Khaimah, we started in World of Astoria with the Siddhartha as a pop-up venue, and we see how it goes. We test the market, and then if it's really successful, and then we establish a permanent. So we have now established 9 pop-ups worldwide, whether in Mauritius, Maldives, Morocco, with Kesner, and then also we're establishing new ones this year in Bodrum and also in Crete in Greece as well. Pop-ups is a great opportunity for hotels as well for potential investor. It's a minimal investment as well. It's a remodeling of the venue towards the concept, and as well they get all the support from our side as a brand owners in terms of operation, marketing, cross-marketing, events. And I think this is something that hotels need to look at in the future. And it's a great success for us at the moment, and we are establishing more and more in the future.
So who pays for the build of the pop-up?
Basically is the investor, and we come up is 0 entry fee. This is what the business model that we started. It's a 0 fee entrance, but he pays a certain percentage on the total turnover. Okay. And I think this is something that also encourage the hotels owners and as well investors. And we always look at the location by location. So we go, for example, the best one is resorts that are in islands, for example, Maldives and Mauritius. We see also seasonal location. For example, in Europe, we're talking Ibiza, Marbella, we're talking about Morocco as well. So because wintertime, the business is dead. So summertime, we start from May to October, and we see this great, even some location, they double the digits in their F&B revenues. Yes. It's become a destination. That's what we need to take into account as an F&B concept in a hotel, not just another restaurant in a hotel. It's a destination. Yes. So for the outside world and for the in-house as well, but for the outside world, it's become a destination. Also, the in-house guests, when they go out or they're within the hotel, they go for an experience because the diners, I mean, new generation, they look for a unique concept with a different products offers. When we started 95 with Remo Vizon, the creator of the Buddha Bar, he wanted always to create this atmosphere of restaurant, bar, and lounge. We've been the first of the brands worldwide to create these elements of entertainment. When you come in, you have the great arrival experience, you have the atmosphere. It's a dining experience. People are looking for a dining experience. They're not looking for just go and have a nice steak and that's it. No, they want an atmosphere. They want to be entertained. For example, I'll give you an example. We went to Marrakesh and we started the Buddha Bar brand. And we see that, okay, people comes in, they have dinner, we have music, we have everything, but always that elements at 11:30, 12, they start moving to clubs. So we see what's the concern there, what we need to develop. So we created a show element. Right. We created a stage, and the diners will come. They will, sit on their tables, have their dinners, but they will see a spectacle, a show. So we have 4 to 5 shows every night, and this is again give a nice growth and maximize as well the profits for our partners. And I think this is something also, but pop-ups is a great business models that we start, and I think this is something that hoteliers need to look at, and I think it's a great opportunity for. Absolutely. And we have already established some partnership with Hilton and with other Marriott. Fantastic. And everybody, Is
there a minimum commitment? Do you have to be there for 6 months, or what's the commitment for this pop-up to be trialed and to prove its success?
It's not a given time. I think it's very much for a certain period of time. Yeah. And equally, the pop-up philosophy, it's always that cool word, I think. And we've certainly seen years back the pop-up transforming into food trucks. And there was all the food trucks. And especially a region which is establishing itself of being a bit more permanent. When you go back out into Europe, and I'm extremely lucky to be crossing a lot into Europe as it's under there. Obviously, a lot of more settled markets. So there's no given time, but I think with our own development and taking the strengths, and I think Russell has mentioned quite clearly and this is where we focus on the F&B is its business in itself, within it. Obviously, and that's something we focus a lot with this journeys to separate between the core of the hotel, which is the hotel customer needs, for whatever its position, from a business to a leisure hotel, but then the non-core, which must have certain criteria to be rightly in. And then the own creation, we equally work towards proposing pop-up solutions to ownership to say, we don't want to come in and just draw you a pretty picture of great concepts and a lot of great references. We got to test it, we got to trial it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, one doesn't fit all, I said as well. We still do full flash, where relevant concepts, but we start on again from an arrival experience. And I think a big key, and I use that, Siddhartha here as a good reference on working on another one with Ramzy actually at the moment, is the arrival experience.
Yeah.
It starts all from a journey of a customer. It starts from how we engage prior you arrive, when you arrive, how you go through. Actually one of the big key points. And once you bring them into the journey and then deliver what you promised them through your brand marketing.
Yeah.
And that's our absolute passion across all the brands. And equally, even in focus service within Hilton, we have some very attractive stuff on the pipelines. And I think sometimes in the F&B industry, as hotel F&B operators, we got to be just a bit patient because developments take quite a while. But once they start coming, and I've just opened a new bar in Munich, at the Hilton Munich City, absolutely incredible. We're on a major project in London, and tens and tens more. So it got to be focused, keep always the commitment in it, due diligence, don't do it too early, so, and then work it in, test it.
In the context of the various models, Michael, what have you seen success with? Does a joint venture work in this space?
Yeah, I think all the models can work. Ultimately, to be successful, the model has to be at least coherent with the brand. It has to be fit in with the guest demographic, the guest profile, and it has to generate enough sufficient revenue to recover capital costs.
Yeah.
Those are the three things. And I think that one thing that we're looking at very carefully is we have to make sure that our demographic, and each hotel is different. What is that demographic? What does that guest profile look like? We have hotels where we have large numbers of families with young children. That guest demographic it has to cohabitate with the guests that we will bring in from the local community. Also, depending upon your price point, is it millennials? What's the average age of your guests? So it's definitely you want to have, I heard in one of the other sessions that when you have locals in your, or non-guests, non-hotel guests in your restaurants, the guests always like that. But I think you also have to look at how does that cohabitation work? And I think that's very important. But I think that as long as you have the advantage of having, obviously, an outside operator is you're guaranteed that rent. And it takes quite a bit of management focus when you're running your own restaurants. So when you have that taken off of your, out of your inbox, so to speak, it definitely gives you some extra time. However, you do abandon the control of how your guests are treated in that restaurant. And that's also can be dangerous too. So there's upsides and downsides, and I think it's up to each individual operator to decide what's best for them.
So we found that the model, so we've got locations, we're lucky, I guess. We've got 11 signed units opening in the next 2 years. We've got another 25 odd in discussion all over the world, from the US across to Asia, and lots in the region. But different models work with different operators.
Yes.
It's about the customer experience.
Yeah.
But what we've done, we've been lucky enough again with Hilton, is it's all about people.
Yes.
So if the people talk to each other, that you can put any agreement, lease, franchise, management agreement, anything, it's paper. You put it in a drawer. There will always be problems.
Yes.
The question is, how do you deal with those problems?
Yes.
Do you throw your toys out of the pram at the sight of any issue that comes up, or do you sit around the table and have a good enough relationship to talk to people and say, how do we fix this together? That's what differentiates all of it. Because if people see that there's a happy environment there, the customer will see that.
Yeah.
And they'll enjoy it, and they'll come back more often.
Yeah.
And that customer experience is important. So the hotel operator from a franchise model, and that's most of the ones that we're doing around the world, whether it's hotel or individual units like Oku in Riyadh.
Yeah.
But those relationships, to Michael's point, with our standard operating procedures or Nabil's, to keep our brand standards, that act someone referred to earlier, they're in control of that.
Yeah.
Because as the hotel GM and his team, they're actually in control of those staff, because those staff technically work for them. They're still under the Hilton, global HR policies. They're just applying our standards to the brand. So we found that model actually works quite well. And just on another note, Hilton have been quite visionary with us in one way, where we're lucky enough to be doing something with them in Oman. There's a Hilton opening there in Muscat, hopefully next year or the beginning of the year after. And that's a destination hotel. And they've gone outside the box a little bit more, because there, what we're doing with them there, we've got food trucks in the hotel. The two holy grails in a hotel that operators generally don't let go is the breakfast and the pool.
Yes.
We've actually got control of the pool F&B.
That's amazing, yeah.
And that's to give the guest a different experience.
Yeah.
And just to really add on, I think
Amazing.
we take our people into the journey with that. I think it's a culture we're building up. It's all about, we all have strategies, we all have our own approaches,
Yeah.
different views and brands, but take people into the journey. And
Yes.
it's the ultimate key, and that's an ultimate focus for us to engage with people, to loosen them up, and make them feel cool about being part of the brand. And there's nothing nicer than great commercial success and awards
Absolutely.
as a combination. And I think we in that region here have experienced that for a long time.
Yes.
But again, have fallen down a little bit because the awards are driven a bit different.
Yeah.
And now the freestanding have come in and so on. So
Yeah.
it's a huge focus to make that not golden bullet, but that formula work.
Yes.
It's not golden bullet, I guess.
Yeah.
I think you're always going to be challenged with a JV arrangement, because it's two different thoughts of people.
Yeah.
Unless it's very clear who's doing what. It's like having a company that's 50-50. There's always a disagreement somewhere. But who gets to rule? Who makes the final decision?
Yeah.
And that is where a JV can sometimes fall afoul.
Okay.
So unless there are very clear guidelines drawn up front
Yeah.
of, Nabil and his team have full control and autonomy over how the operation runs, even though we've both invested together, whatever that might be. If you don't do that and the borders are set early, then it's just a recipe for trouble later.
Kind of brings me on to my final question that I had actually was around partnerships, and you've just explained it quite well. If you've got a great partnership, you're obviously working together quite a lot with various of your brands, and you've now taken on the operation of the pool bar to create a different experience. To any of you quickly, if you've got a partner that you're already working with, it might be on a particular brand, would you, to the operators, would you say, right, I've got an outlet, I don't want any of the concepts that you have, will you create a bespoke concept for me and do it on some kind of managed arrangement? Start with you,
I would say you'd have to have a lot of confidence in your operator. I mean, I think one of the challenges when you look at the different concepts around the world, you never know a new concept's going to work or not. I think we would be, if we were to do that, we'd probably do it ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd probably, because we're probably with our bench strength in terms of F&B knowledge, we would probably have as good, if not better, chance of succeeding, in which we would own it. Because you ultimately, as a hotelier, you own it anyway. Whether if it's in your property, if it goes great, you participate in that. But if it doesn't work, you also participate in that. So we would probably do it ourselves, unless it was a tried and true concept. Then that's something we would consider bringing in.
I think there's this Manchise model which obviously flips right onto that, and that's, we do have some projects in the going, and I think again the competency has said, and not competency but also brands, restaurant brands and bars. I think one big point for us as well is a brand presentation is one thing, but what's the structure behind it?
Yes.
There must be a value add onto that from an operations qualification. Design is one stage, then it's the operation. So I think the Manchise model is definitely interesting, and I think it will come only into that region because we're still stabilizing, where Europe, I think, is stronger within Manchise, equally crossing Europe and America at the moment. We see quite a good opportunity there, especially, I think, when you go behind celebrity chefs, celebrity individuals, equally sommeliers. We're working on a program there, which has great opportunity to work on those, create relevant offering and not take it from the deck.
I think it does exist, to your point. We're in several discussions about that, so, and I'm sure Nabil's been approached. People come, they like success, and they want to be associated with success. So if they've seen you've created 10, 20 brands that have worked, and effectively, irrespective of the brand you touch, you're able to find that je ne sais quoi magical touch that gets the customer, has a good business, customers are happy, staff are happy, it makes money and people come back, they come and say, can you create something? Which is actually what you do.
Yes.
So effectively, you take the normal consulting world. You're consulting, you're
Yeah.
creating, you're designing, but you're not running.
Yeah.
And a lot of the owners and others are saying, well, I can get someone to create a phenomenal concept and it's beautiful, but then I hand it over to my team and they make a mess of it. So people are looking to
Yes.
say, can you now come and actually help me manage that?
Yes.
And there is that gap that is still does need to be filled.
Yeah.
In our side, for example, I mean, to be able to create new concepts. However, we, as a successful, proven franchise,
Absolutely.
as a Buddha bar, we are flagging, I mean, putting by Buddha bar. So,
Yes.
for example, we're creating
Yeah.
new concept, another 6 concepts in the next 1 year. We are establishing a new concept that, and we can adapt them to certain markets. For example, Africa, for example, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. So we're working on new concept, and we have operators that are asking for certain new concept by Buddha Bar, of course.
Fantastic.
And then we establish together, we work together on creating this concept
Yes.
and establishing not as such a big venues, could be 150 to 200
Yeah.
square meters, whether it's tapas bar or Japanese bar, or, you know, so we create this concept to adapt with the market and at the same time to give to the needs of the operators as well.
They want the power of the big brand.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
That's what they want. And we've done that with we'll call it a baby oku, which
Yeah.
is kato by oku.
Yeah, yeah.
And you say to people, it needs to be referred to as kato, and they go, no, where's the oku word?
Yeah.
They want by oku.
Yeah, the sign off, which
They want
gives
the
that
sign off,
seal
which
of
is, you know,
approval.
X
Yeah.
by Buddha Bar.
Absolutely.
So it's important for people because humans want to be associated with
Yeah.
brand recognition.
Brilliant.
It will get them there.
Brilliant. I think we're pretty much out of time, but thank you so much. It's been a really fruitful discussion, really interesting. Hope everybody's enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.